Hello and welcome. My name's Heather. I'm a registered professional counselor and I'm going to be watching Selling Sunset Season 5, so let's dive in.
You said, Amanza,
stay out of your business.
I really
That's the
need
part
you
that
to stay out of
affected
my
me.
business. That was Heather's choice to do hateful press about me. You want to talk about being genuine? I genuinely need you to stay out of my business and stop contacting me with petty things.
Right.
She wanted to clear the air with Christine. She wanted, she just said, I was not too sure if you were mad at me, and this is why I thought you were upset with me because of what was said in the text message. And so it seems like there was some misunderstanding. I'm definitely not okay with the fact that this happened at a professional event. We see that there's a lot of guests there who are looking at Amanza and Christine when they were arguing. Also, just a quick reminder that everything I'm saying in these videos are a complete speculation. I'm not here to diagnose any of the participants. That is unethical. I'm not in a counseling session with them. I don't know them. The purpose of these videos is to use the events from the show to talk about psychology theories in general, also relationship dynamics, and how we can improve our communication skills.
All I said was how
An
can
event
I
that I don't give a
ban
shit
from an
about,
event that
that
I
I
wasn't
don't-
even invited. You
that I-
absolutely
Oh my God,
I don't
what's
know
going
why
on?
You're targeting the fact that you are
Christine,
stalking
oh my God.
me online.
Now I'm
Oh,
stalking you.
wow.
I'm
Telling me to not send flower arrangements.
It's not
tried
fair. So
so
hard.
And it just got really messy really quickly because Amanza was trying to smooth things over with Christine, and Christine felt like she was being attacked and she needed to defend herself. And a lot of people would have this reaction as well, where if they feel that they're being attacked, they would either go into fight, flight, or freeze mode. And it seems like with Christine, she definitely goes into a fight mode. She gets very defensive and she starts turning things around and attacking the other person, which is what we see when she said, "Oh, you're stalking me." And we see that Amanza has had enough, and now she's starting to see that the other girls were right, and she's starting to understand where the other girls are coming from, because up until this point, Amanza has been fairly neutral, and she's kind of been the in-between person, and she's told that to Christine in a previous episode as well, and she was essentially trying to keep the peace, and now she's reached a point where she's noticed that Christine is also attacking her, and she's realizing oh, I'm also fair game, and what you're doing to the other girls, you're essentially going to do to me as well. And I think that does create a lot of feelings of pain and hurt, because essentially she was Christine's friend and she was trying to stand up for her. Obviously, this could have been communicated a different way. There could have been a lot more understanding from both parties. It sounds like Christine was just trying to defend herself and she wasn't really trying to understand where Amanza was coming from. She wasn't really trying to clear the air, and they were more so just focusing on the text message as opposed to sitting with the feeling, which is that Amanza felt hurt. She wasn't sure, she felt worried that Christine was mad at her and she wasn't really sure how to approach the situation. When you focus on the primary emotions or the more vulnerable emotions, it's difficult for the other person to try to defend or deflect or dispute it, because you're essentially saying hey, I felt this way, instead of this is what you said and this is what the text said and no it's not and let's read it. It gets sidetracked really quickly in terms of the conversation as opposed to actually focusing on what the main issue is.
The fact that you're standing here saying
I'm so sorry you didn't
stalking you. You said,
Oh my god, people are watching! Why are they doing this here?
I don't need nastiness,
delusional.
Honestly, it's just not the most appropriate time to be having this discussion. And either one of them could have said hey, I think, we're getting off track here. I think we need to address this, but is it okay if we do it at a different time? We're working, this is my event, or something like that. Either one of them could have definitely have stalked it, but it's really difficult when you feel triggered in the moment to be able to kind of take a step back. But that is the most important time, to be able to take a step back so you don't escalate the situation. So now Amanza walked over to the other girls and was essentially confirming yeah, I see what you guys are saying now, and this just happened to me, and I can't believe it. Instead of walking and going somewhere else to cool off, she went to the other girls because she knew that they would agree with her or understand where she's coming from or validate her feelings because they've also been through it as well.
What happened was, as an article was done saying that I was banned from a wedding that I wasn't actually ever invited to in the first place.
But why weren't you invited?
Because Heather and I have drifted apart.
But then why would you say I didn't give a shit about it?
And Christine is trying to explain and let everyone know what's been going on for her or why she's saying these things and why she wasn't invited to Heather's wedding or bridal shower. And I think everyone just had an issue with the fact that Christine is now saying two different things, like it's almost contradicting everything. So she met up with Heather saying that she only cares about her, she wants to restore their friendship, and then telling the magazine that she doesn't give a shit about going. But it looks like she's hurt, so she could be faking that. Maybe she is deeply hurt that she wasn't invited. I can understand if she was deeply hurt that she wasn't invited because Heather was invited to her wedding. And maybe, again, this is her way of deflecting those feelings of hurt and pain because she doesn't want to feel it. Or maybe this is her way to show to the magazines that she's not weak because she wants to go, or, you know. So there's a lot possibly going on, but she could have also told the magazine that she wishes Heather all the best and hopes that she has a beautiful wedding. And she didn't have to say that she didn't care about it or that she didn't give a shit about it. Again, it could have been a defense mechanism. It could have been her trying to save face because they're saying that she was banned when she wasn't invited and she was reacting from a place of hurt. There's just a lot of hurt going around and not a lot of healthy coping skills or healthy ways of communicating, which therapy can definitely help with.
We can go through a list of everything and explain back and forth why, but every single person has their own issues.
You do all these awful things to each and every single one of us, and then act like nothing
We're
happened.
confronting you about the shit that you've done, and now all of a sudden we're like ganging up.
In your own words, own it.
Wow. Okay. So similar situation to what happened at Jason's party. There was a lot of accusations being thrown around. A lot of the girls are very upset with Christine and what she's done to them in the past and also the recent past. I mean, it does look like they are ganging up on Christine. I do not agree with the time and the place of them having this discussion. Essentially what's going on is a little bit of like a mob mentality because they've all have issues with Christine. There hasn't been any resolution. Christine is still exhibiting the same behaviors that are upsetting them. This is essentially what happens when you have a group of people who are going through the similar experience and who are all feeling hurt and want they want the same outcome from Christine, who's not giving it to them. And so they're all trying to say their piece. They're all trying to express their pain and their hurt to Christine, and to also, I'm guessing, let Chelsea know that this is a very common occurrence. This is a repetitive behavior of Christine. Again, when you have everyone who's being triggered, and then you have a group of people who are going through the similar feelings, similar experience, and then you have another person who just went through this, it's normal for them to try to band together. Again, this is a very familiar phenomenon within psychology. It's the us versus them phenomenon, which happens all the time, right? It's the in-group, out-group. And right now we have a larger in-group, which is all the other girls from the office, and then Christine, who is part of the out-group, and Chelsea, who's sort of with Christine, but she's also trying to be in the middle and ask for clarifications.
Why does it matter as long as the gesture was received?
Because 2 days later, she went online and told everybody how she doesn't give a shit about the wedding and she doesn't want to be there.
So Chelsea is trying to be very tactful and try to say like, oh, you know, it was a nice gesture, so why does it matter? But she doesn't know the whole story, I suppose. She's only heard from Christine's side, and she's essentially trying to calm everyone down and save the event. Before I forget, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more analysis videos like this.
When I hear everyone coming at one person, it's giving me bullying. And even when you all may not vibe with her and dislike her, when you all come together, it's a lot.
And now Chelsea is going to get a little bit more evidence that supports what Christine has been saying all along, which is that all the other girls are ganging up on her, they don't like her, they're out to get her. And for Chelsea to see them as bullying Christine, it could be her own perceptions of what bullying is. And they're not essentially attacking Christine. If you actually listen to what they're saying like, hey, we've had enough of what you've been doing to us. You've essentially been hurting us and attacking us and saying all these things, and we want to know why, and we want you to stop. There's no name calling, there's no aggressiveness. I mean, I think that everyone is a little bit heated and they're raising their voices a little bit because they're triggered, but it's not like a hostile aggression. In fact, everyone is saying that Christine is the one targeting them. If we look at it that sense, this is a group of people who've all been hurt by the same person, who are trying to stop the behavior from Christine and essentially try to defend themselves. So it's normal for our bodies to perceive what's going on here as a potential threat, and everyone is getting triggered and reacting in a way where, you know, their heart rates are going up, their breathing's getting shallow, their bodies are preparing for fight or flight or freeze. The other girls are getting triggered, obviously. Christine is triggered. Everyone is just triggered right now.
In the office, I expect to be professional.
Wait, why doesn't Mary stop it? She's the manager still. It's a work event.
Thank you so much for coming,
that
guys.
Privilege when you talk shit. You don't
You're
get
monsters.
that privilege. We're all grown-ups. We're monsters. Literally the most neutral fucking person in this group. Definitely not a monster.
It can actually be quite traumatizing all around, especially if they feel that they're wronging each other. So, for example, Heather met up with Christine. Christine said that you're the only girl I really care about, and I want to do whatever I can to make the friendship work. And then I guess a few days later, she tells Magazine that she doesn't give a shit about her wedding. Her words and her actions are very incongruent with, you know, from one day to the next day. And it can create a lot of feelings of unsafety in the friendship and the relationships and the workplace. And I think that's essentially what's been happening all along. I can understand if everyone feels unsafe and if everyone already feels hurt or attacked from Christine, and then Christine feels that they're the horrible ones, they're the monsters for ruining her event or bringing this up and not listening to her, and yet she hasn't acknowledged really why she said what she said. Having some context can be helpful, but it can also help for Christine to really understand, like, okay, maybe I should stop doing these things, and maybe I should really focus on repairing my relationship with these girls. If they don't like what I say, maybe I shouldn't say these certain things about them. Also, why do they have to talk to the magazine articles? Like, do they have to talk to press? Do they have to do these interviews with them? Like, maybe it's better for her to just not really say anything about the other cast members to the articles. I guess it's fine if she has her own opinion, but I think she needs to recognize that maybe her opinion isn't always based in reality, or that her opinion is hurting other people, or she can always direct the interviews to, you know, her own life and what she's going through, and not necessarily anyone else's lives. And Christine definitely has a pattern of fighting and then flighting. And it could come from a place of hurt. It could come from a place of not knowing how to handle the situation. Or it could be a manipulation tool as well, where she attacks the other person, she realizes it's not going to work, or she realizes that she's outnumbered, and therefore she's going to shut down, she's going to cry, and she's going to flight or run away. Not to say that that's what she's doing. You guys can come up with your own opinions or assumptions about that. I'm just saying that these are different possibilities as to what could be happening for someone in her position.
What I saw right there, if you ask me, that was bullying. That was unacceptable. That was classless.
And maybe it depends on what Chelsea's definition of what bullying is. I did a quick Google search, and there seems to be a consensus of what bullying in terms of a definition is, which is the use of force, coercion, hurtful teasing, or abuse in order to aggressively try to threaten or dominate the other person. If we actually take that definition at face value and compare it to what the girls were doing, it doesn't really match up with what bullying is. I would say it was a little bit of ganging up or mob mentality, but again, when you have a group of people who have been collectively hurt by that one other person and they're wanting to see change, or they're wanting to see some form of remorse of Christine and her actions. I think that's essentially what they want, is they just want to know if Christine feels bad about what she said or what she did. And there's no feeling of remorse. There is no apology. It just kind of contributes to feeling more pain and feeling more guarded from her and wanting to separate themselves further from her because they don't want to have these issues or these articles keep popping up from her.
None of them have stood up for me. Davina, sat. Maya, sat. Vanessa, sat. Except me.
This could feed into Chelsea's feelings of, oh, I need to protect Christine, or, oh, I'm special because I'm the only one that understands Christine. So it could actually double down and definitely work into Christine's favor, which is that she wanted to have an ally. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. She feels misunderstood by the group, but again, she did put herself in that position by not taking responsibility for her actions or the things that she said. Essentially, she's just not really fixing any of the problems.
And no matter what you do, Christy, don't cry. Bad bitches don't cry.
It's definitely okay to cry. Crying is normal. Crying is natural. It is okay to cry, and we need to actually encourage and accept the fact that people can cry. It's totally okay to cry. It does not mean that you are weak. It means that you're human and that you are processing something that is deeply painful or hurtful for you, and that's how we show it. That is how we move through our emotions, as opposed to try to shove it down or to have someone tell us that we need to stop crying. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more analysis videos like this. In the meantime, feel free to check out my other therapist reviews videos, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Until then, be kind and love yourself.